that is designated by the county as census blocks within the city that meet an economic disadvantage criteria. So we have 3 of those in the city, and projects can also be completed within those areas. All right, next. Here's a list of some of the previous projects that we completed. We recently completed the senior center roof, and this municipal grant funding was applied to that project. And in previous years, we had completed sidewalk improvements as well as streetscape improvements. Next, please. So now we get to our proposed project, which follows suit with our previous years of funding. We are going to be proposing a sidewalk connectivity project at Eaton Road and Mastic Road. All right, and if we go to the next slide. So we're proposing the construction of ADA compliant sidewalks along Eaton Road and Mastic Road where they do not currently exist and where they are feasible. And what this will do is connect the future Metro Parks Trail to these neighborhoods within the city. So we're going to be increasing connectivity and increasing accessibility to the Metro Parks and its recreational amenities. And next slide, please. Here is a diagram of where the sidewalks will be located. And as you can see, this is actually a rendering that was completed by the Metro Park, showing the future pedestrian and multi-use connection to the Rocky River Reservation. So we want to leverage that project and increase connectivity in our own neighborhoods in Fairview. And next. Okay, so we talked about this earlier. We're going to be reading the public comments pertaining to this grant program after the community development supplemental grant presentation is done, just because some of those comments relate to both grants. And then at that point, we can take questions for both programs and discuss any project ideas that anyone has. So if we go to the next presentation, whenever you're ready, Liz.
Okay, hold on. Let me close that one.
That is pertaining to this grant program after the community development supplemental.
I need to grab the other one. I have 1,000 screens up here.
All right, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so this is going to follow a similar format. This hearing is for the 2021 Community Development Supplemental Grant. Also, we refer to it as CDSG. So it has very similar objectives of the municipal grant funding. There are a few differences which we'll go over. If we can go to the next slide. Okay, we can go next. This funding is also addressing community development needs within the community. Similar types of projects are eligible for funding. One of the main differences between CDSG and CDBG is that this funding cannot be applied to soft costs such as engineering or construction admin. So this funding goes specifically to construction, and this is funded through Cuyahoga County's Casino Revenue Fund. Next. All right, so the maximum grant award for this program is $50,000. It's due about a month after the CDBG grant application is due on January 8th, 2021. As with the Muni grant, there is one application allowed per community. There are 23 grants available. This grant is not restricted to a specific area within the city. It can be used anywhere in Fairview Park. Also a 12-month long program term. And in addition to all 59 Cuyahoga County communities, 501c3 community development corporations, that have been incorporated for at least 2 years are also eligible for funding. We don't have any of those within the city, so we'll be applying for it. Next. Okay. All right, we addressed these in the previous one, the Cuyahoga County objectives. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, here's a list of the previous projects that were completed through CDSG. We recently finished the Women's Police Department locker room project. And also we paid for the pavilion at Nelson Ross Park with these funds, as well as the playground equipment there. Currently, we have actually last week, construction on the Thomas Lane project started, and that is funded in full through CDSG. Next, please. So here's our proposed project for this round of CDSG. We're looking to do the Bulkin Park connectivity project, similar to the one we were just talking about at Mastic Road Hill. Our theme this year for both programs is connectivity in the city. So if we go to the next slide. All right, so here we're proposing an ADA compliant pathway to connect existing paths within Bulkin Park. Currently, there's only one traditional loop path within the city at Nelson Ross Park. And while Bulkin Park is not within a low and moderate income area, it's adjacent to one. So although it's not required through this program, we find it beneficial that this will be, this park is in such close proximity to those areas, the low and moderate income and the improvement target areas. If we go to the next slide. So the public input we're requesting is really going to guide the direction we go in with this project. Because this is only a $50,000 grant, we're unable to, that's not a lot of funding for pathways. So we're seeking input on the most effective option for improving connectivity at Bulkin Park. So on the next slide, you're going to see the two options. And we are seeking your input on which option is more desired and effective, and which one that we should apply for through the CDSG funding. So the first option, option A, that would connect West 210 Street to, you can kind of see it in this aerial, but it's a little bit difficult to see. Connect West 210 around the parking lot to the pathway north of the existing playground. Or option B, where we could connect the dead end pathway at the southeast end of the park to the pathway south of the pavilion. All right, we could go to the next one. Here's just a description of the two options. And if we go to the next slide. And now we're at our Q&A and discussion period where we'd like to discuss those two options, as well as enter some of the written comments that were submitted to us via email into the record of this meeting. And then we can move to questions and answers and comments for the municipal grant. So, and I'm going to try and read these comments as fast as I can because I know we have only 15 minutes here. So I'm going to start with a public comment submitted by Tom Burns of 19254 North Sagamore. It says, the city's website encouraged residents to submit grant proposals to Monica Jordan. I am not sure, however, if the mayor's administration plans to present or share any other proposals besides its own preferred Bulkin Park sidewalk project. The city's original budget for the 2020 Thomas Lane project was about $100,000, but since only $50,000 in grant funds were secured, the scope of this project had to be compressed. It seems to me that the city should finish what it started and complete the Thomas Lane Park project before moving on to something new. At the September 14th committee meeting, Service Director Costello indicated that the city would be seeking additional grants to develop Thomas Lane Park. On October 14th, I submitted an email to Ms. Jordan asking that grant monies be sought for ADA compliant playground equipment and other improvements at Thomas Lane Park. Below is a short list of some of the items which have been requested for Thomas Lane Park by myself and other residents, but which were not included in the current compressed plan. 1. ADA compliant playground equipment. This was promised free by the developer, All the city needs to do is install an ADA compliant surface for the equipment. Number 2, ADA compliant picnic table. I have offered to donate the picnic table, but again, the surface needs to be added. Number 3, widening of concrete pads for benches. As set forth in my October 14th email to Ms. Jordan, the configuration of the current pads does not provide room for wheelchairs to park off of the sidewalk and is not ADA compliant. This needs to be fixed. Number 4, signage on Story Road. Even the smallest pocket parks have signs to let residents know that this is a public park, which they are welcomed and encouraged to use. I am not aware of any plans for signage on Story Road. Number 5, bike rack. The stated purpose of the Thomas Lane Park project was promote connectivity between neighborhoods. In order for people traveling by bike to stop and use the park as it is intended for passive recreation, there should be a bike rack. I respectfully ask that the city finish what it started and request 2021 CDSG grant funding to complete improvements at Thomas Lane Park. Thank you for your time and consideration. Tom Burns, 19254 North Sagamore. Next, we have comment from Susan Denton of 19162 Coffinberry Boulevard. Hello, hope all is well and everyone is enjoying this beautiful fall weather. I've been walking around the neighborhood and been seeing the work on the new sidewalk at Thomas Lane has started. This makes me want to send another request that a grant funding application be submitted for ADA playground equipment at Thomas Lane Park. I would like to see something similar to the previous grant that was awarded for playground equipment at Nelson Russ Park. All right. So this one in particular, those two apply to the CDSG grant. This public comment applies to both the CDBG and CDSG. It says, Monica, please use the grant money Fairview Park is eligible for to restore the cabin and gazebo. She's referring to Ed Bain Park. We need to maintain those buildings for the future for those who follow us. Thank you for your consideration. And this was submitted by Leah Trainer of 21130 North Park Drive. And lastly, we have this is public comment related to the municipal grant, and it is from Mr. Graham Codney of 20780 Germantown Drive. It says, I am not sure if this would be applicable for the grant, but I would like to see if we could apply for this grant as part of Mastic Road Bridge sidewalk. When I attended the community meeting in the spring, it was mentioned that the sidewalk would only extend to where the bridge begins, which would leave considerable space between the sidewalk and corner of Mastic Road and Eaton Road. It would be nice if we could use this money towards extending the sidewalk to meet the residents of this area. And that completes the public comment submitted via email. So I'm going to open it up. And actually, first I wanted to see if our Director of Public Service and Development wanted to respond to any of the written comments so far, and then we can move to the Q&A and comment.
I appreciate being able to address those. Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to remind everyone about the very thorough efforts that our community planner had gone through to create the Thomas Lane Park. Her research indicated that the recommendations for playground equipment wouldn't be advisable in a park this size. And so her $50,000 in grant funding is being put to good use. It's a good point to discuss about finishing the project. We agree that we should finish this grant funded project before we try to leverage additional grant funding. We would like to show some before and after photos in future grant applications. We had discussed that the Story Road fence has been moved back to accommodate future gateway and identification areas. I also would like to point out that the concrete pads for the benches are being extended through some contingency funds that we feel we have. The contractor was generous enough to upgrade the path to be concrete. And so we have a beautiful concrete sidewalk, not just asphalt, and it's joining concrete pads that the benches will be situated on with at least 42 inches on one side to accommodate 25-inch wide or other mobility assistant devices. So we do look forward to the future of grants that could include bike racks and other implements in this public property, but for now, we feel it's very important to complete this grant-funded work, show that we are responsible stewards of these funds, and leverage that good work for future funding. I'd like to also thank Susan Denton. We do feel very proud about our parks, including Grannis Park, very near Thomas Lane, within walking or bike riding distance, and the playground equipment that's located in that much larger space. So we are excited. We appreciate the interest in, if you do go to Grannis Park, the playground is, and we are so very proud of it. So we hope to continue those good efforts with Director Kemp, our new recreation director, which kind of leads me right into Leah Trainer's communication. We are having great discussions with Director Kemp about Bain Park and Bain Cabin. We've had a lot of activity there. Our roof has been assessed, and we've had some contractors give us some quotes for the work so that our community planner can look for grant opportunities that can address just some issues that come with age and protecting this treasure for our community. So we want everyone to watch for the new restroom by the pavilion coming up. Legislation is going to be presented to City Council for us to start the engineering so that we can make a new restroom installation next year. And we do have some gazebo work on our radar for painting some metal railings on the gazebo and just some maintenance work. So stay tuned for additional work. We'd like to thank Mr. Cadney for his support. And yes, the sidewalks on Eaton will be brought around to Mastic Road, and it will poise us to connect very nicely to the grant. I want to mention Metro Parks grant application. They told us that they have not been made aware of any awards for their grant, but that they're in the process of being evaluated. So that's a very good sign. I wanted to mention the rendering that we used is just a representation of what could be. That path is an image that does not have any engineering behind it. It's certainly not going to be the the ultimate path that would be installed. It's a rendering so that they could use it in their communication, in their grant. So I don't want anyone to think that that's exactly what would be in place, but we liked to use it to give a reference to where our grant work would be. Again, it was great to hear our community planner describe her wonderful efforts, and just a reminder that community development block grants, or the MUNI grant, is restricted to the low moderate income areas and target improvement area. And so we will use those funds according to where they're most appropriate. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to answer some of those issues. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you, Mary Kay. All right, so now we're going to open it up to the public or anyone else who would like to speak on these two grant proposals or grant programs.
Monica, I don't see anyone here, and actually in the notification about the meeting in the email for those that receive it, asked for those by 4:30. So if there is someone here, I am not aware that they want to speak. Other than the administration, I see two other people, and if I see a Twyla and a William Snyder. So if either of you wanted to speak on this, I have unmuted you. So I'll give you a second if you want to do that.
Can I go?
Yep.
It's Bill Schneider. I prefer projects to be finished. As much as we want to move on to the next project, I think Thomas Lane is really something that should be finished and accomplished soon with additional grant money. That's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Schneider. We'll definitely, we will reflect that in our minutes.
Monica, I have a question for you.
Sure, Councilwoman.
With the Vulcan Park, if you would do the B path, how would that affect the soccer fields?
So I don't believe Carrie Kemp is here, our new director of recreation, but we've actually walked the site with him, and it has been determined that there is more than enough room for a pathway due to the size of that field. And it'll be engineered, you know, if we are successful in the grant application, to ensure that it doesn't impact the configuration of the soccer field.
Okay, great, thank you.
No problem. Anyone else?
You hear me, Monica?
Yep, I can hear you.
I would like to go with phase B on the Vulcan Park pathway because most people use the driveway to Vulcan Park off 210. This way, if we have a path on the south side of the property, it would be both beneficial to connect with the other existing paths now.
Okay, yeah, so one of the reasons I personally think that either option will do wonders for connecting this particular neighborhood, but the one reason that we proposed option A was because it would reduce the need for people to walk in that driveway area, and it will, I guess, eliminate any potential conflicts between pedestrians and motor vehicles, since it would be its own designated walking or multi-use pathway. But I think that you're totally right. I think both options would be great, but thank you.
Just to clarify, Councilman Minnick, we were looking at that north side of the entrance to bring the walkers around to the playground area. We talked a little bit about how that would be probably really effective, and it brings you to the trail quickly. And it just
That would be
efficiently.
very acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman. All right, anybody else? Would anybody else like to give comment?
I think Councilwoman Adler's on mute, so maybe she,
okay.
I don't know if we need to unmute her.
Oh, yes, this is either Monica or Mary Kay. When you were can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. When you were discussing the connectivity of Mastic and Eaton to Mastic Hill, I wasn't clear on the visual. The current Mastic Road project, that hill, is there a sidewalk going up that hill that then you're going to connect then at the top of the hill? Is that what you're proposing?
So the Mastic Hill project has two parts. The first part is being completed and is scheduled to be completed in December. And that is a bridge structure in this, probably like around the center. And as a part of that bridge structure, a walking area has been included. It's a protected walking area. There's a small wall between traffic and the pedestrian, but those will lead on either side, the high side and the low side by the Metro Parks Parkway, to a trail that's in the ground. It's hardly any better way to describe it. So there won't be a permanent trail adjacent to the roadway just because of the elevation along the hill. So there would have to be, if their grant, and I'm referring to the Metro Parks grant, if that grant is awarded, there would have to be some engineering and field work to see where the foot traffic could feasibly be led to meet that bridge structure pathway, and then to bring people all the way up the high side or the Eaton end of the project to where our sidewalk would be located.
Okay, so
part of our proposed.
Currently, the part that for pedestrian traffic basically is leading you up to the top of the hill and then you're walking on dirt. Is that what you mean? There's no sidewalk connecting quite yet?
So it will be there as part of the Metro Parks project. The proposed trail would be much like you see people refer to the bridle trails perhaps. It wouldn't be, it would be a little rugged, but the section that's adjacent to the bridge section is concrete.
Okay, all right,
So you
thank
would
you.
move from, yeah, you would move from a little bit of a rustic trail to the concrete and then back to a rustic trail. And that would lead to our proposed sidewalk. There probably, you know, have a crossing across Mastic at some point to be decided in the future.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, so it looks like we're just a little bit past 6:30. So any final public comments for this? All right. I also welcome anyone who, you know, either was unable to attend or just has any, you know, further ideas to submit additional comments to me via email at monica.jordan@fairviewpark.org.
Monica, will we have those presentations linked on our website if people would like to go to the website to look at your presentation?
Definitely. I can make sure they're posted tomorrow.
That would be great. Thanks. Appreciate
No
it.
problem.
Thank you,
All right.
Monica.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so Tim's on, everybody's on. Greg, are you on?
I am on there.
Okay, great. So we have a Board of Control meeting scheduled at 6:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:33. Director Costello, if you could take the roll, please.
Mayor Cooney,
Present.
Director of Law Riley,
Here.
Director of Finance Single,
Here.
Council Member Minnick,
Here.
and myself, Mary Kay Costello.
Okay, we had some minutes that were submitted. I would say, I don't know if everybody's had a chance to review those. Any additions, revisions, questions? Some minutes from the October 12th meeting of the Board of Control.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
All right, Director Single, is there a second? It's Councilman Minnick, second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are approved. First item on the agenda is the Fairview Park Door Project, which is CARES Act project. And Director Costello, if you could provide us with the bid information on that project, please.
Thank you. We opened bids on October 9th. 3 bids were received, and our technical advisor from Construction Resources, Inc. reviewed those bids and has recommended D&J Structural Contracting, Inc. as the lowest and most responsive bid. This contractor has worked with Construction Resources, Inc. and vouches for their ability to complete the work timely and in a quality fashion. Their bid total is $107,606. And you may recall that we discussed Construction Resources, Inc. Back in August to help us prepare these bid specifications and coordinate this project. At that time, it was $5,800 approved on August 17th. And tonight, I'd also like to ask for Construction Resources, Inc. to inspect this project for $4,800 for project services to include reviewing invoices and inspecting work and coordinating the work with our City Hall personnel, et cetera. So that is just an extension of services already being provided by them, but it is an additional cost.
Mary Kay, was that 4,800 or Is that right?
Yes,
Did I hear that?
$4,800.
Okay.
Mr. Costello, if you could,
What was construction resources estimate for the project?
$120,000. That was
Okay.
their estimate.
So it came in under estimate. Okay, great.
if you could just refresh us with briefly what the project will entail.
Yes, the project will entail a new door at City Hall and video capability for our personnel in City Hall, in the administrative offices, and in the building department, in the service garage, to monitor that door as well as the door to the service building department area. And what that will allow us to do is speak to our visitors to make sure they're in the right place at the right door and that they have the appropriate face covering. It'll help minimize the amount of people and traffic and help direct people to safely access City Hall. It's really not a security camera. We're not going to be storing any data. It's simply to be able to communicate with our visitors. It'll also include work on a Gemini door. We're hoping to allow people to exit out the indoor pool so that they don't have to go through the lobby if they don't want to, and they can access their cars without having to leave through a busy lobby if they want. For some time, we had the locker rooms closed, and I think some people will appreciate being able to use that as an option to minimize their exposure as well. We have Cleveland Clinic sending their physical therapy patients in there, and we really do want to offer these protections for our visitors and their patients. In addition, it will include some upgrades to doors at Bain Cabin so that doors can be propped open to the picnic area that's sheltered to the east of the structure, and as well as some door opening devices that will better help our renters use and utilize that outdoor space to spread their guests out. I think I covered everything.
Okay. Are there any other questions regarding this item? If not, I'd take a motion to approve.
So made.
Director Sengel, is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Minnick? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. That item's been approved. Thank you. Item number 2, please purchase of equipment, MDTs. Director Costello, if you could describe this to us as well, please.
Yes, this is a purchase that the police would like to make from a company called SHI. They are looking to purchase a public sector service package. So it will include Toughbook tablets, an extended service agreement up to 5 years, keyboards, mounting brackets, power adapters. And these tablets are a hybrid laptop computer, and it's in keeping with other equipment purchased over the last 2 years. It will replace aged computers that are over 5 years old that have been in squad cars and are experiencing intermittent failures. This equipment is offered as standard equipment in our police vehicles and will offer a little redundancy. If there are equipment failures in other squad cars temporarily, we can shift these vehicles so that we always have working equipment for our employees. The total purchase is $14,500 with delivery from SHI.
Okay, and it's my understanding too that that they'll be installed by personnel from the police department, so there won't be any installation costs. Any other questions on this? Any questions, I'm sorry, on this item? If not, I'd take a motion to approve.
So made.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, Director Single and then Director Riley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the item's been approved. The next item is purchase of laptops and other computers for the Recreation Department.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
This purchase is being made out of the CARES Act, out of COVID-19. Unlike the police purchase, these laptop purchases will be paid for or submitted to be paid for under the CARES Act funding. This purchase is also being made from SHI. 3 computers and 5 laptops replace computers, most of which are original to the building. These new computers offer our employees the ability to work remotely or to take their device to maintain social distance or to cover other employees that need to be pulled away to do COVID-19 cleaning or wiping or other required activities. So these laptops will be used for city work at the Recreation Center. This purchase includes a warranty for 3 years and damage protection, docking stations, and the total is $9,950 with delivery.
And it's my understanding there was a quote from Go To It around for over $13,000 for this in response to this as well.
Correct. Both the police and these recreation purchases had quotes that SHI was the lowest and most responsive.
And with respect to the installation, I know that Go To It would be doing that for us pursuant to their contract for $920. And I know there's been a lot of problems with the Gemini staff not being able to complete some of their work. They're having trouble getting stuff done because of the current condition of these computers. So, any questions on this item? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
So made.
All right, Director Singh. Okay, Director Single, second by Councilman Minnick. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the item's been approved. Last item relates to approval of the sidewalk improvement project, which we've already done, but it's my understanding we're going to release some additional funds. Director Costello, if you could explain that for us, please.
Absolutely. Thank you. On September 21st, the Board of Control approved sidewalk improvements for our grant-funded project and assigned the project to DRS, or Daniel Enterprises, who was the lowest and most responsive bid. The engineer's estimate for the project was $117,600, and the bid was accepted for $84,152.62. The Board of Control approved an amount not to exceed $98,658.62 for the project, noting that we had issued surveys to our residents about lawn tree removals and did not have all of them back at that time. And so as time has gone by, more surveys have come in regarding removal of lawn trees. And when we structured this bid, we did not think every single person would want all of their trees replaced. So, I mean, it's great news for us, but just nothing we would have anticipated. So we're happy to add grant funds to our already very responsive bid. And so our request is to have an approval for this work for $111,168. That's $111,168.20 This adds $12,509.58 to the already approved amount and will allow us to remove additional existing trees and replace those trees that are experiencing end-of-life issues with new, more appropriate species for the tree lawns. And there's also a couple stumps that were in the tree lawns from previously removed tree lawn trees that we're going to do a little better job grinding out and making a restoration. And because we missed those initially on our first pass, we've added those in. And so we appreciate your consideration in adding these grant funds. They're 100% grant funded, and we appreciate that consideration.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions regarding this item? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion there to approve the expenditure.
Councilman Minnick, thank you.
Second.
Director Riley, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, the item has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Costello, for that. Take a motion to adjourn at 6:47.
So made.
Okay, Director Single, is there a second?
I'll second.
Director Riley, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Sorry
Thank
for
you.
running over, Mr. President.
Right, Mr. Mayor. Anytime. Hey, everybody, start our caucus meeting.
Is someone watching television?
Yeah, some kind of.
Must have been Greg, because I muted him and it went away.
All right, thank you. All right, council, is everyone good with the minutes of the regular meeting, September 8th, September 21st, and October 5th, 2020?
I am.
Everyone get a look at them?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, we have 3 committee reports for the meeting tonight. Is everyone else set with those?
Yes.
Great. Okay, legislation for first reading. Bridget, you have a couple? You have all of them. You're all set?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Bill, you have the rezoning on second.
Yes.
Are you there, Bill?
Yes.
All right, and Bridget, you have the application of the TLCI planning grant.
Yes. Are you going to send that back to committee?
Yes, I got that. Yeah, I got the message.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Hey, sorry I'm being attacked by a big gray. Okay, so we have Sarah, you have legislation for passage without 3 reads, the supporting the levy.
I have a question on that one.
Okay.
So when I'm looking at the agenda, it says Resolution 2014 supporting school district bond levy 2020. But it's not a bond levy, it's an operating levy. And I'm wondering if it's just the actual legislation says operating levy. And I didn't know if it matters that's different on the agenda.
I can change the title before I actually archive it. So it should say, hold on me.
Regardless, we support it.
Right. I just want to make sure that we're
I gotcha.
handling history.
So it should say bond operating levy or just
It's
operating levy?
It's a continuing operating levy.
A new one. That was a new one, sir.
So that language was provided to me by the superintendent. Real fast, let me look that up then. Let me see what their language says, because if that's the case, we will need to
Change the intro.
change or amend it. Give me a second. Okay, so this is from a news article coming off of issue 72. Superintendent Bill Wagner said the public will spend the fall spreading the message to the public about the continuous 7.9 mil operating levy. Let me see if I can get it right off the school district. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right. It is.
We'll see a 7.9 mil continuing operating levy. I think they're adding. I'm not an expert on how the levies work, but I think it's an increase. But it's an operating. I'm not positive, but all the language says continuing.
Emphasizes something new.
And I think if you just remove the word bond, it'd be fine. It'd be fine.
So, Bill, where did you say you saw that it's a new one? The verbiage?
It's like the first time in the next number of years that they're gonna have a levy on the ballot. I interpret as a new levy. Continuing, I understand.
Okay. Yeah, all their official stuff says continuing. So I think we're okay on the legislation. We'll just need to change it on the agenda before we archive that. Okay, sorry.
I mean, if you'd like, we could, amend it this evening and remove bond. I mean, whatever you want.
That's just the title, if I'm understanding correctly. It's just the title that needs, and that's a clerical thing. So I can change it to supporting school district continuing operating levy 2020.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Okay. That's perfect. So then we don't need to amend it. You just change that before you archive it, right?
Yeah.
Get it down.
Okay.
So do we want to do amendment from the floor this evening?
It doesn't need to be amended. That's just the title that I give it for indexing purposes. So
Okay.
I can just change that.
All right, thank you.
So then I'm good.
All right, good. All right, legislation for third read. Bridget, you have McGowan insurance contract.
Yes.
Good with that?
Yep.
Very good. Okay, roundtable. Brian, do you have anything?
No, not tonight.
Bill?
Nothing, Mike.
Thank you. Maureen?
No, Mike.
Sarah?
Yep. So I've gotten a couple phone calls this week about our homelessness problem here in the city. And I'm not positive what our official statement is. And I just wanted to give a heads up, Mayor. I'm going to give you a call later this week so we can talk about, what it is that we're doing so I can better answer that question for all of the residents. So I just wanted to give you that heads up.
I can address it now if you'd like. I don't know if we have time.
Sure.
I'm only aware of one individual in particular. If there's others, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. We have, our police department has been in contact with this individual numerous times, really throughout the day, to check up on her, to see how she's doing. She has declined all type of services that we've offered. She, obviously as the weather gets colder, we're all concerned about her. But she is lucid and has made her, decision as to what she wants to do. We are going to be reaching out to her later this week with a social worker to, maybe see if there's some other services that can be provided. But we are aware of it. The police department checks up on her on a very regular basis. I know other residents have contacted us Director Costello has spoken to one of those residents about various options as well. And, sometimes, despite our efforts, people are free to make the choices that they do. So if it's the elderly woman that I'm speaking of, there's other individuals that are out there I'm not aware of, I'd be happy to talk to you about that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, it is specifically this woman that they are asking questions from. So thank you. I will pass that on.
Thank you.
Thanks for help. Thanks for trying to help this woman.
Mm-hmm.
Bridget, do you have anything?
No, nothing tonight. Thank you.
Greg?
Nothing.
Liz?
I have a few things. Okay, so one, I sent you guys an email about the motion that needs to be made to renumber the RJ plat, and there was a duplicate number. So, and that was my somewhere between handwriting and typing error. So that need to be made.
I'll entertain that second time around, Liz.
Okay. And rezoning the ordinance, the notice to property owners for the rezoning is going out tomorrow. Just FYI. I'm also going to be sending out a listing of all of the liquor, a listing or a link to all of the liquor permits in the city. Every year there is a question. It usually happens in September, but obviously COVID affects everything. Where the city basically looks over the permits that are active, and if they have an issue with an entity getting their renewal for their permit, they're all up at the same time, then that has to be notified to the state by November 2nd. So I'm going to ask, I usually send it to council, the administration, specifically the building department and the building, fire, and police, to see if there's anyone that want to kind of challenge for their permit renewal. So that'll be going out. And also, okay, sunshine law training. I'm sorry, I have to go grab this piece of paper. Excuse me real quick. Okay, so basically there's the auditor of state and the attorney general both offer sunshine, they call it House Bill 9 training, which is sunshine law training and open records training. And the auditor's office has basically discontinued it for the rest of the year, or until further notice, they said. The attorney general's office, I called, and they were supposed to be having one on the 7th, which obviously passed. It was canceled. There is one this Friday. It is virtual. It was changed from in-person to virtual. The training is required by elected officials during your term. So you technically have until December 31st, 2023 to get this done, but it's mandated that you take a 3-hour training per term. And the attorney general is offering, they have a virtual one this Friday. You can also do it online. It is a series of 14 videos. It is a 3-hour training. I'm not sure whether there is an assessment or not, but you get a certificate, and that's basically your proof that you took it. And the auditors do, in fact, look for this when they do their audit. So it's not something, usually I'm the designee, and while I have been the designee in the past for council, it doesn't absolve you from having to take the training. But seeing as though we have so many new members, I think that it would behoove everyone to take that training. And there is another date, November 17th. They have now canceled that one in person and are making that one virtual, but I'll get all this information out to you all. But just know that these are the ones that are remaining for this year, and they are going to be updating, she said, as they determine more dates. So that is that. With the passage of the school levy, I did inform Dr. Wagner that I would forward him a copy for distribution, or however they're going to advertise that, or show the support of other entities. So that's all I have.
Thanks very much, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We begin the regular meeting now at 7 o'clock, 7:01 actually. All right, the regular meeting of Council of the City of Fairview Park for Monday, October 19th, 2020 is now called to order. Have a moment of silent reflection. Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Simmerly.
Here.
Mr. Minnick.
Here.
Mrs. Adler.
Here.
Mr. Kilbane.
Here.
Mrs. Waring.
Here.
Mrs. King.
Here.
Mr. Berger.
Present.
Okay, the chair will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of council September 8th, 2020. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Simmerly.
Yes.
Mr. Minnick.
Yes.
Mrs. Adler.
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane.
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mrs. King.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. The chair will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of council September 21st, 2020.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Simmerly.
Yes.
Mr. Minnick.
Yes.
Mrs. Adler.
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane.
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mrs. King.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Chair will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of council October 5th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Simmerly.
Yes.
Mr. Minnick.
Yes.
Mrs. Adler.
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane.
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mrs. King.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. The minutes are approved. We will now have this evening's committee reports, beginning with Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, and Development. Councilman Minnick.
Thank you, Council President. Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, Development Committee met on Monday, October 12th, 2020 at 8:20 p.m. to discuss ordinance 2038, amending the zone map of the City of Fairview Park, Ohio, zoning the area described herein from General Business A, GBA, to General Business B, GBB. In issue Fairview Park codified ordinance 1325.05 garbage receptacles. Ordinance 2038 rezoning permanent parcel number 321-29-027, which is the vacant land between the last building of the shopping center and the westerly entrance and exit of Fairview Park Shopping Center off Lorraine Road. On September 16, 2020, the Planning Design Commission held a meeting to discuss traditional brand Development Partners, LLC, Christopher Eberhardt, applicant, submitted plans for a new construction of a Jiffy Lube facility. Refer to council for review for zoning change for section 14, article 4 of the city charter. Planning Design Commission ruled to approve the new construction as presented, and there was a decision of the commission to refer the docket item to council for review for zoning change for section 14, article 4 of the city charter. Participating in the discussion were members of City Council, Mayor Cooney, Public Service Law Director Costello, Law Director Riley, Building Commissioner Maynard, Mr. Christopher Eberhardt, Mr. Andrew Ehrenberg, and Mr. Victor Olson, from Traditional Brand Development Partners, LLC, and Mr. Todd Smith, a resident. The third discussion in reference to traffic, pedestrians, number of vehicles using the facility, suggestion of a traffic study, crossing signals, being in the downtown area of the city, encouraging development on Lorraine Road. Council President Kilbane stated in section 1 of the ordinance, the following verbiage be inserted. Passage of this ordinance in favorable recommendation of the Planning and Design Commission. Motion to place ordinance 2038 on second reading and refer to the Planning and Design Commission for report recommendation was approved 5-1. Fairview Park Codified Ordinance 1325.05 garbage receptacle. Participating in the discussion were members of City Council, Mayor Cooney, Law Director Riley, Building Commissioner Maynard, Public Service Law Director Costello. The major concern is the screening of the waste receptacles. Several emails were received from residents stating to consider allowing the waste receptacles to be stored in the side of the residence. Once again, screening is an issue. Comment concerning leaving the waste receptacles in the front yard as their collection. Commissioner Maynard stated their office and the police department have enforcement measures. Mayor Cooney stated the administration considering other cities, review the information, and possibly amend the present code. Motion to issue Management Committee was approved 6-0. This completes my report, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. Okay, Local Government and Community Services, Councilwoman Waring.
Thank you, Council President. The Local Government and Community Services Committee met on Monday, October 12th via Zoom meeting beginning at 7:41 p.m. Present were members of Council, Mayor Cooney, and Director Riley. The committee discussed the creation of an anti-racism task force. The council decided upon the following parameters for an anti-racism task force. Number 1, the name of the task force will be the Diversity and Inclusion Coalition. Number 2, the objective of the task force will be to understand the topic of racism as it pertains to our community and make recommendations to promote diversity and inclusion in the city of Fairview Park. Number 3, the task force will be made up of 9 total members, 5 of which will be appointed by council and 4 of which will be appointed by the mayor. A chairman will be appointed by the task force members. Number 4, task force members will be required to be residents of the city of Fairview Park. Number 5, each task force member will be appointed for a 2-year term and expected to meet at least 1 time per month. Number 6, applications for the task force, once created, will be submitted to the clerk of council. Applicants will be interviewed by either the mayor or council. The committee requested Law Director Riley to move this task force into legislative form. Council also deliberated on Resolution 2014 supporting the school district levy for 2020. A motion to pass this resolution on second reading was passed by a vote of 6-0. Local Government and Community Services concluded at 8:19 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Finance Committee report, Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. The Finance Committee met via video conference on October 12, 2020 at 7 p.m. In attendance were members of Council, Mayor Cooney, Director Single, Director Costello, Director Riley, and members of the community. Ordinance 2039 authorizes the submission of an application and provides for the administration for the 2021 TLCI planning grant. Director Costello gave us a brief overview of the grant. Then a motion was made to place this on second and subsequent third reading, and it passed with a vote of 6-0. Ordinance 2036, authorizing a contract with McGowan & Company for city insurance for the period of November 1, 2020 through October 31, 2021. A representative from McGowan was in attendance and went through the proposal, answering all of our questions. A motion was made to place this on third read and final passage, and it passed with a vote of 6-0. The Finance Committee ended at 7:41 p.m. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Okay, we will now begin tonight's legislative agenda. We have legislation for first reading. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place 3 ordinances and a resolution up for first reading.
Okay, will the clerk please assign numbers and read the titles?
Ordinance 2041, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilman Minnick. An ordinance supporting an application to Cuyahoga County for the 2020 Municipal Grant Program to provide financial assistance for the 2021 Sidewalk Safety Improvement Project. Oh, I'm sorry, I was reading that and getting confused. Hold on. Safety Improvement Project, and authorizing the mayor to accept any awarded grant funds and file all documents and execute all agreements necessary to receive any awarded grant funds, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2042, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilman Minnick. An ordinance supporting and authorizing the submission of an application to the Cuyahoga County Department of Development for the 2021 Community Development Supplemental Grant Program to provide financial assistance for improvements to Bolton Park, and authorizing the mayor to accept any awarded grant funds and file all documents and execute all agreements necessary to receive any awarded grant funds, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2043, requested by Mayor Patrick Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman King and Waring. An ordinance requesting that the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer certify certain information to the City of Fairview Park relative to the renewal of the 1 mil fire tax levy, providing for a renewal of a tax for the benefit of the City of Fairview Park for the purpose of providing and maintaining fire apparatus, buildings, payment of firefighters' salaries, employers' contribution required under Section 742.34 of the Ohio Revised Code, purchasing ambulance equipment, for providing ambulance, paramedic, or other emergency medical services at a rate not exceeding 1 mil for each $1 evaluation, which amounts to 10 cents for each $100 evaluation for 5 years, commencing in 2021, first due in calendar year 2022, to be placed on the May 4th, 2021 ballot and declaring an emergency. Resolution 2016, requested by Mayor Patrick Cooney, sponsored by Councilwomen King and Waring. A resolution submitting to the voters the question of a renewal of a tax for the benefit of the City of Fairview Park for the purpose of providing and maintaining fire apparatus, buildings, payment of firefighters' salaries, employers' contribution required under Section 742.34 of the Ohio Revised Code, purchasing ambulance equipment for providing ambulance, paramedic, or other emergency medical services at a rate not exceeding 1 mil for each $1 evaluation, which amounts to 10 cents for each $100 evaluation for 5 years, commencing in 2021, first due in calendar year 2022, and declaring an emergency.
All right, thank you. Okay, ordinances 2041, 2042, 2043, and resolution 2016 are all placed on first reading and all referred to the Finance Committee. We'll now have legislation for second reading. Councilman Minnick.
Thank you, Council President. I place an ordinance up for second reading.
Will the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 2038, requested and sponsored by Councilman Minnick. An ordinance amending the zone map of the City of Fairview Park, Ohio, by rezoning the area described herein from General Business A to General Business B.
Thank you. Ordinance 2038 is placed on second reading and returned to the Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, and Development Committee. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place an ordinance up for second reading.
The clerk please read the title.
Ordinance 2039, requested by Mayor Patrick Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilman Minnick. An ordinance supporting and authorizing the submission of an application to the Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency, NOACA, for the 2021 Transportation for Livable Communities Initiative Planning Grant Program, and authorizing the mayor to accept any awarded grant funds and file all documents and execute all agreements necessary to receive any awarded grant funds, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Ordinance 2039 is placed on second reading and returned to the Finance Committee. All right, it is now time for audience input on legislation that is up for passage. Clerk Westbrooks, have we received any emailed questions or comments on legislation?
I don't have any comments for legislation up for passage now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll now have legislation up for passage without 3 readings. Councilwoman Waring.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to place Resolution 2014 before Council for emergency passage.
Okay, would the clerk please read the title?
Resolution 2014, requested by Councilwoman Waring, sponsored by City Council as a whole. A resolution supporting the Fairview Park City Schools District's 7.9 mil continuing operating levy on the November 3rd, 2020 ballot and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Councilwoman Waring.
Thank you, Council President. I move that the charter provision and Rule 49 requiring that legislation be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before Council for emergency passage.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, the motion carries. Prior to call for passage of Resolution 2014, is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of Resolution 2014?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Resolution 2014 passes. Okay, we'll now have legislation for 3rd reading and final passage. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place ordinance 2036 before Council for 3rd reading and final passage.
Will the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 2036, requested by Greg Single, Finance Director, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with McGowan and Company for the professional services of providing insurance requirements of comprehensive general liability, police professional liability, firefighter/ambulance attendance liability, boiler and machinery insurance, comprehensive automotive and physical damage liability, public officials liability, volunteer coverage, property and equipment coverages, umbrella coverage, cyber protection coverage, and active shooter coverage, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2036, is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2036?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Ordinance 2036 passes. And this concludes our legislative agenda for this evening. We'll now have reports and communications from the mayor and his directors. Mayor Cooney, if you're ready.
Thank you, Council President Kilbane. Good evening, everybody. Today, our senior center reopened. We were happy to do that. We've had transportation services have been in effect for a few weeks now. We've had some regular riders there. With respect to the senior center, it is open Monday, Tuesday, and Fridays from 9 to 3. Similar to the Gemini Center, we're going to have a limited schedule per the governor's order. All activities taking place there can only have 10 or less participants. We have silver sneakers today. We had a few participants. We had a virtual bingo with over 20 participants that was on like Zoom and by phone. I know or Brandos, our interim director, is going to be looking for some other virtual possibilities for our seniors. We're going to have movies on Tuesdays and art classes later in the week. I'd like to thank Laura and Kathy Ebley for all their efforts in getting things ready. We've had a lot of inquiries from our seniors about coming back, and we're happy to have them back. They need to pre-register for their activities. They're going to be required to wear a mask. They're going to scan in so we can, keep track of people as to who's participating in events together. I'd also like to thank the service department for their efforts in getting the senior center ready. Once again, they did a great job in putting up protections for our residents and visitors at the senior center, as well as their staff. So we're happy to have people back. We're going to keep a close eye on things, make sure everybody's safe and healthy moving forward. And again, similar to what we've done with the Gemini Center, we'll look and keep evaluating things to see how we can expand or if we need to make some adjustments going forward. Next Monday, the Seniors Helping Seniors event will be taking place. That is where seniors from Fairview High School go out into the community and help our senior residents in getting their leaves ready for pickup, which is timely because the service department started that earlier today. It's a great program, and we appreciate our students at Fairview High School taking the time to help their fellow residents. As of today, we had 36 people, students signed up to help. So thank you to them. The building department, we have a planning and design meeting this Wednesday. There are two items on the agenda. Both are lot consolidations. One is a residential lot consolidation at 20747 Eastwood, and the other is a commercial lot consolidation for the properties at 21420 and 21430 Lorraine. And that meeting will be at 7 o'clock this Wednesday evening, again by Zoom. The recreation department today, our locker rooms were opened. I know I had heard from a number of members, asking about when that would take place. Director Kemp had worked with his staff to get those ready. Made some adjustments in the locker room due to the cleaning protocols for the governor's order. The showers are not available. That would require that they be cleaned after every use. And at this point in time, that's not, from a staffing concern, that's not something that we could keep up with. But the locker rooms are open. They are spaced out. They're, so that they're socially distanced. There was zip ties and other things put in place to make sure that people are spread out. And they, as required under the governor's order, the locker rooms will be closed every 2 hours for cleaning. We're asking the people who use a locker to make sure they leave it open after it's used so that we know it can get its proper attention. We also ask people for their patience. It is not something that will, typically in the past, the locker room has been closed to be cleaned every 2 hours. But because of these requirements, that's going to happen. So we just ask that people be patient or, with that, I anticipate that the director and his staff will have schedules up so people can plan their workouts accordingly. November 2nd, the Gemini Center will be resumed to a 5:30 a.m. Reopening. That was, again, back to something that we had, as we were going to be evaluating activities there as time went on. Director Kemp and his staff have been monitoring the use use of the facility. I've gotten a lot of interest from members who were there first thing in the morning, 5:30, and that makes a big difference, I know, for people's commutes early in the morning. So we're happy to be able to put those, go back to that start time. I think there will be some other adjustments going forward with respect to some of the times at the Gemini Center. We'll be communicating those to you and to the residents and the members going forward. Last week, basketball signups began. We're going to have youth basketball and adult basketball leagues this year, and then a new league is like an intramural program. It's 4-on-4 high school basketball for students who are members, so we would encourage people to go to the rec website for information on those programs. With respect to the police department, I'd like to congratulate now Sergeant John Bandy. Sergeant Bandy was sworn in earlier this afternoon. He was promoted to sergeant, and he was sworn in at the Bain Gazebo. It was, in order to promote social distance, we did it there at the gazebo. We had a nice turnout, and we congratulate Sergeant Bandy on this promotion. The police department has advised that they've been paying attention and patrolling near the 220 construction. We asked residents, to be careful if they are taking 220. I would suggest if you can avoid 220 that you do that. Actually this afternoon on my way to the promotion for Sergeant Bandy, I did take 220 and there was a backup. They were stopping traffic. It was late it was around between 5 and 5:30. And I had anticipated that, the construction would be over. However, they're working long hours to try to get as much work done as quickly as they can. So if you're going to be taking 220, anticipate delays. They're going to be working Monday through Saturday. Sundays, they will not be working, but we just ask that people look for alternative routes. If they are in that vicinity, to please be patient, please be careful. We have workers, construction workers. We want to keep them safe. We have flaggers there. We also have off-duty police officers and auxiliary officers working their traffic as well. So please be careful. This Saturday at City Hall from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. will be Operation Medicine Cabinet. If people have any unused prescriptions that they're not sure what to do with, they can bring those up to City Hall from 10 to 2. While we do have a drop-off men in the police lobby that's available at any time, on Saturday we will have officers in the Sally Port who can accept people's prescriptions as they can drive up and drop those off. There's no questions asked. They just take those and secure them, and then the sheriff's department will then come around and take those. This is serves a number of purposes. Number one, I know historically in the past a lot of people would dump their medicines and flush them down the toilet, throw them in a sewer. That affects the environment. There's a lot of negative effects on our environment. Also, people keeping unused medicines at home could lead to people taking them and abusing them. So we would encourage people, if there's no use for them, to please bring them to the police department this Saturday from 10 to 2 or any other day going forward. I think everybody's well aware. In a couple of weeks, it's Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd. Last week, Director Costello and Director Kemp and I met with a representative of the Board of Elections to go through the protocols with respect to City Hall, the Gemini Center and Bain Cabin. Very impressed with the plan that the Board of Elections has already. I mean, they have the layouts, they know where everything is, they have outlets where they're at, so they're very well prepared. They're prepared for a lot of contingencies on election day, and we just ask that people be patient and suggest that people be prepared as well. When they vote, they can vote early now. They can still request to vote by mail ballot, but we would just encourage people to know their plan going forward. With respect to early voting, we have gotten a lot of inquiries here as to when people can begin voting at City Hall, at the Gemini Center, at Bain Cabin, at the library, Fairview Village Apartments. You can start voting there at 6:30 on Tuesday, November 3rd. There's no early voting at these locations. The only place you can vote early physically is at the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. So we're passing that information along to everybody, and again, I encourage people to vote. This weekend, St. Mary Magdalene is going to have its European Festival. Typically, it's in September on a Saturday, and it's a great time. I can vouch for that. Good food, good beer, good times. But unfortunately, due to COVID, that's going to be a drive-through festival, but the food will still be fantastic. That'll be St. Mary Magdalene is located at St. Mary Magdalene Byzantine Church, which is at 5390 West 220th. There, the event will be a drive-through again on Saturday, October 24th, noon to 7, and on Sunday, October 25th, from noon to 6. We have been in contact with the construction crews from Dominion about this festival. They're aware of it, and they will, they're going to make sure that they're not going to interfere with that event. So I would encourage people to try that out. The menu is on Facebook, or you can go to St. Mary Magdalene Byzantine Church for the information. But it's always very good food, and the people there are wonderful, and encourage people to support them. That concludes my report this evening. Council President Kilbane, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Director of Public Service and Development, Costello.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to congratulate Mark Varga for completing our 27th year as a tree city. So he is in charge of all the reporting and collecting of the data that qualifies us. And it's ironic, as the mayor had mentioned, it's our first day of leaf collection. So that's perfect timing. I'd also like to remind everyone that Republic will be collecting yard waste until November 30th. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention that you don't have to leave those leaves at the tree lawn. You can put them in a bag until November 30th. Just remember to please leave those leaves on the tree lawn, not in the street. I appreciate that. That ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Finance Director Single.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This one item this evening, just want to thank City Council for approving Ordinance 2036 in order to procure municipal insurance effective November 1st of this year. And that concludes my report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Law Director Riley.
Thanks to Council President. Nothing this evening.
Thank you. City Engineer Kerber.
Thank you, Council President Kilbane. The tree and sidewalk program is getting underway. Should be seeing work over in that area soon. We're still working with ODOT on the West 210 resurfacing plans. And Fabrizi will begin working on West 213th Street punch list items this week, weather permitting. That completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Has the council clerk received any petitions or emails, questions for public session this evening?
I have. I received one email from Chris Garrett. Subject is ordinance 20, there's no number here, but rezoning parcel number 321-29-027 from general business A to general business B.
Did Mrs. Garrett submit her address as well?
Yes, it is 21332 Eastwood Avenue.
Thank you.
And I will just read this into the record. It says, to all, regarding the proposed plan to rezone the parcel between the shopping center and Get-Go to permit automotive service, though I do not live or own property near this proposed site, my concerns are more generic regarding how this might negatively affect us as a community. At present, there are 5 locations zoned for automotive service within 0.6 miles of the site being considered for rezoning for auto service. 21991 Lorraine Road, Get-Go. Parcel has been an automotive service location for more than 70 years, presently owned by a corporation service company. 22101 Lorraine Road, Nationwide. Parcel has been an automotive service location for more than 70 years, privately owned and operated. 22350 Lorraine Road, Wired Right. Parcel has been an automotive service location for more than 10 years, privately owned and operated. Though considered a specialty shop, zoning and the use of property is auto service. 22690 Lorraine Road, Drella Shacks. Parcel has been automotive service location for more than 70 years, privately owned and operated. 22870 Lorraine Road, under construction / facility modifications. Parcel has been an automotive service location for more than 60 years, privately owned and operated. Concerns, questions, and thoughts. Number 1, will paving the way for yet another automotive service location so close to many others bring new money into the community, or will it take away from the other long-term automotive service businesses? Number 2, the likelihood that business will be drawn in from North Olmsted is pretty darn slim. There are another half dozen automotive service locations on the east end of Lorraine and North Olmsted. I don't believe people will drive past those to come to Fairview Park. Number 3, zoning for automotive services will not bring families to the area. How does that fit the grand scheme for Lorraine Road development? Number 4, the plan for Lorraine Road starts with zoning, and too much of a good thing can be bad. In this case, automotive services. If I were in a normal time period, I would be standing at the mic in front of council. Since that isn't possible these days, I am using this email as a mic. Best regards, Chris H. Garrett.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Westbrooks, and thank you, Ms. Garrett. Okay, we'll now have miscellaneous business and comments by members of City Council. Councilman Summerly.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Councilman Waring for putting together the resolution supporting the school levy, and encourage all residents to get out there and vote for the levy on November 3rd. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Minnick.
Mr. President, the mayor gave you the Planning Design Commission agenda for this coming Wednesday. At this time, I move as per Article 7, Section 2D of the Charter, that Ordinance 20-38 be referred to the Planning Design Commission for report and recommendation.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to refer Ordinance 2030 to the Planning and Design Commission?
Mr. Simmerly.
Yes.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
Mrs. Adler.
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane.
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mrs. King.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
No.
The motion carries and Ordinance 2038 is referred to the Planning and Design Commission. Councilman Minnick.
Please shall report, Council President.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Adler.
Aside from just supporting exactly what Councilman Simmerly said, let's show support for our schools to only make not only our schools stronger, but our cities stronger. So get out, vote, and support our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Adler. Councilwoman Waring.
Thank you, Council President. First of all, I'd like to thank Councilman Simmerly for his kind words. Of course, this levy is exceptionally important to our community. Obviously, we know that our housing values are tied to how good our school district is, but more than that, our children's futures are tied to how good our school district is. And I think it's imperative that we do support them as they chase down this levy. So please go out and vote in favor of the levy. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. The theme at the end of this meeting seems to be voting. So I just wanted to remind everyone that early voting is going on downtown at the Board of Elections, and it's from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays. It is open Saturday and Sunday now, Saturday 8 to 4, Sunday 1 to 5, and then next week it will be open till 7 p.m. And the school issue is issue 72, which is the very last thing on our ballot. So please go through the entire ballot and vote yes on issue 2 for our kids and for our schools. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman King. Councilman Berger.
I don't have anything.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank Monica Jordan for the very informative public hearing she had prior to the council meetings, and for putting together those great grant applications. So some exciting stuff. So thank you, Monica. The chair will now entertain a motion to renumber ordinance 2033, authorizing contract with RJ Platten, to ordinance 2044 to correct a duplicate use of number.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King, sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, there being nothing further to come before council this evening, the chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Will the clerk please call roll on the motion to adjourn?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick, yes. Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Take care. Be
Thank you.
safe.